Hello there, pickles. Please do not adjust your sets, your expectations, your general life choices. This is not an episode of Knitting Vicariously. No, sorry about that. This is me popping in to give a very quick update as to all things that are going on over here behind the scenes at this channel. First and foremost, I really do hope that you're all well, that you're healthy and safe as can be in the current climate. Luckily here in the UK, certainly within London, we're starting to ease our way out of lockdown gently, but I do appreciate that elsewhere within the world, COVID is still affecting people. There are still lockdowns in place, so wherever you happen to be right now, I really do hope you're as well and safe and healthy as can be expected. And I really do hope that you're all okay. If you are a brand new viewer, this is not the sort of update that you would normally expect over here on this channel. So if you would like a bit of a flavour for what we normally do, what we normally discuss, I would recommend you check out one of the other episodes. However, if you're a returning viewer or indeed someone who watches the channel perhaps a little bit more regularly, as I mentioned, I wanted to stop in and give you a little bit of an update as to what's been going on behind the scenes here at the channel. So yes, you may have noticed that episodes and updates have been a little more sporadic of late. Now there are a couple of reasons for that. The first of those is lockdown. I mean, it's difficult when you can barely remember what day, week, month it is to have any kind of regularity in a recording schedule. That's been challenging to say the least. But also just to make you aware, if you've been around since the very earliest of days here on Knitting Vicariously, you may be aware I moved here to West London about 2.5 years ago now. I've been here very happily. I moved here after I went through a breakup. I split up with my ex, went through a divorce and moved here back to West London. But for a variety of reasons, West London is not quite where I need to be right now. So in the coming weeks, I'm actually going to be moving from West to South London. I mentioned there were a couple of reasons for the move, and I do just want to be a little bit transparent with you. First and foremost, I am not pregnant. I am sure there will be plenty of you out there just wondering, maybe just thinking, I am absolutely not pregnant. Just wanted to make that abundantly clear. Not going to happen. But I am delighted to say that for the last kind of 4 or so months, I have been living with my fella. Yes, I'm delighted to say that I met a lovely chap at the end of last year, and it's fair to say lockdown has expedited things somewhat, because pretty much since I got back from the US in March, he has been spending an awful lot of time here to the point where we ended up making it somewhat official. So yes, very happy to say that I'm going to be moving with him to a place in South London. His work is based moreover in that direction. My work at the moment is pretty flexible, obviously working from home, but even then, when I do hopefully finally go back into the office, this is still going to be a great match for that. So yes, part of the reason why I'm going to be making the move in the next few weeks. So yes, fear not, I promise the podcast is not going to be going away, but given there's an impending house move, at the tail end of a lockdown, and we're still trying to work out how that whole thing works, I've also got an awful lot that's going on with work at the moment. We're going through reorgs and restructuring and need to be thinking about how we're managing that with the team there. So there's an awful lot going on, but there is also an awful lot that's going on within the knitting community and in communities kind of adjacent to it. And the preparation, the consideration, the articulation that requires to sit down on a regular basis, have those conversations, present the topics in a way that I feel is kind of helpful and allows further discussion, that takes a huge amount of kind of mental space and energy to bring it to the table. And what I didn't want to happen was for me to be unable to do a thorough job of those things. And so as such, I think over the next few weeks, as I say, my priorities need to sit with the things that I need to get done day to day. And then by the time I've got the headspace freed up to come back and focus on this a little bit more, probably around about the sort of mid to end of September time frame, I promise you I will be back and I will be firing on all cylinders. And so hopefully that kind of fits roughly with your enjoyment in continuing to watch the channel. There will be a couple of minor changes. At the moment, the stash wall, fear not, the stash wall is non-negotiable. That was always going to be coming. And just for the avoidance of doubt, this is not a shop. This is personal curation that we've got going on here. Excessive personal curation, but there we go. So yes, this will be coming with me, fear not. However, the new setup may not allow the sort of depth required to have stash wall and me and camera in such a way as we would normally have. So while I appreciate this is probably a greater feature of the podcast than my giant faces, we may have to do things ever so slightly differently in the new setup. I'm going to try and see what I can do, but just forewarned and all that. But yes, as I mentioned, I'm kind of earmarking sort of middle to end of September as being the time when I'm going to be back a little bit more regularly and sharing content with you. The good news is I should at that point have a fair degree of content to share. Certainly knitting content, possibly crochet content, although it's fair to say the Battenberg blanket has fallen a little by the wayside. I mean, who knew that was going to happen? We all knew that was going to happen. But yes, I should at least have a fair bit to share with you by then. In the meantime, I promise I won't be disappearing entirely. I will be dipping in every now and again to the likes of Instagram, to YouTube over here, potentially even to Ravelry, although I know, again, accessibility is still a problem. I'm very disappointed that the site hasn't got itself together in quite that regard. For those of you that are still able to access the group, please do feel free to continue chatting over there, but obviously it's just devastating that it's still not accessible to everyone in the way that we would like it to be. But yes, I'll be continuing to dip in here and there, so I won't be losing sight of the community altogether in that time. And again, I hope that lands okay with you. If you do have any desire to want to keep up with all things knitting vicariously, I mean, the good news is, if you can call it that, there is a fair bit of me talking over here on this channel. So, you know, if you have completed Netflix, watched every video on YouTube, and even delved into the darkest recesses of the internet to consume whatever content you can find there, even the really bad stuff, you're welcome to rewatch some of these if that really floats your boat. Otherwise, plenty of other knitting podcasts are available, I can assure you, and I promise you that you will find some absolute crackers out there just by doing a little bit of digging. But in the meantime, as ever, I really, really do hope that your knitting is keeping you happy and fulfilled, and if for whatever reason it isn't, I do really hope that you have the opportunity to knit vicariously. Keep on keeping on now, more than ever, and of course Black Lives still matter, and of course accessibility is still paramount. I will see you all very, very soon. Bye, Pickles.